Look, I know what you're thinking. Halloween is all about cute kids in costumes and pumpkin spice everything, right? Wrong. What if I told you that the holiday you think you know is actually built on psychedelic drug trips, desperate singles tasting dirt for marriage advice, and literal bone barbecues? Today we're diving into the 33 most unhinged facts about Halloween. By the end, you'll never look at a jack-o'-lantern the same way again. 1. Presidential mask prophecy. Ah yes, the classic American tradition of deciding who runs the country based on rubber mask sales. For decades, the presidential candidate whose Halloween mask sells the most almost always wins the election. This isn't fancy polling data. This is literally Americans buying latex faces at Spirit Halloween and accidentally predicting democracy. It's worked election after election with creepy accuracy. Forget sophisticated political analysis. Apparently, the American electorate makes its real decision while wandering through the costume aisle, asking which face would be funnier to wear to a party. So next time someone tells you politics is complicated, remind them that a guy selling rubber masks probably knows who's winning before CNN does. Peak democracy. Subscribe now or spend another year getting Halloween history wrong at parties. Your choice, historian. 2. Witches on drugs. You've heard this one 1,000 times. Witches flying on broomsticks through magical spells. Adorable. Except they weren't flying, they were absolutely blasted on medieval hallucinogens. Medieval witches brewed flying ointment from dangerous psychoactive plants like belladonna, henbane, and mandrake. These could literally kill you with wrong dosage. Here's where it gets bizarre. The most effective absorption was through mucous membranes, so they'd smear this paste on a broomstick and straddle it. Yeah. The resulting trip was so intense, it induced vivid hallucinations of flying, levitating, and traveling to other realms. They weren't zooming through clouds, they were sitting in a medieval hut completely obliterated, having the wildest trip while thinking they were at a demon convention in the sky. Your grandma's decoration commemorates medieval women getting high. 3. Stingy Jack's turnip nightmare. Before pumpkins, people carved genuinely terrifying faces into turnips to keep away a specific dead guy so awful, even hell rejected him. Meet Stingy Jack, an Irish con man so despised that when he died, heaven said no. But when he showed up at hell, the devil personally kicked him out too. Imagine being so terrible, Satan says, "Nah, I don't want you either." Jack was cursed to wander Earth forever with only a burning coal and a hollowed turnip to light his way. The Irish carved demonic faces into turnips and left them outside to tell Jack, "This house is protected. Keep walking." These weren't cute. They were pale, gnarled vegetables with grotesque expressions lit from within. When Irish immigrants came to America, they discovered pumpkins were easier to carve. Jack ruined it for everyone. 4. Black cat mythology chaos. What if I told you black cats went from sacred protectors to evil omens because of medieval church paranoia? In Celtic folklore, the cat Sith was a spectral black cat with a white chest spot, believed to be a witch transformed. Legend said a witch could transform 8 times, but on the 9th, she'd be stuck as a cat forever. That's where "cats have 9 lives" comes from. But in ancient Egypt, black cats were worshipped. British sailors believed having one aboard guaranteed safe voyage. So how did they become cursed? The Catholic Church and witch hunts. Any woman with a black cat could be accused of witchcraft, and cats were massacred with their owners. It's absurd an innocent animal became a scapegoat for religious paranoia, and we still carry that superstition centuries later. Black cats are just cats with different pigmentation. 5. The pumpkin apocalypse of 2011. For a holiday obsessively centered on one vegetable, the Great Pumpkin Collapse of 2011 was basically apocalyptic for Americans. Severe flooding in the Northeast destroyed acres of pumpkin fields weeks before Halloween. Crops were annihilated by excess moisture and fungal diseases. News reports spread panic like wartime food shortage. Headlines screamed, "Pumpkin crisis!" American families entered full panic mode, rushing to remaining patches like last grocery stores before a hurricane. Prices skyrocketed from $5 to $50. Some patches were completely empty, just brown mud fields. Desperate people resorted to foam pumpkins, plastic ones, and painted watermelons orange. The irony is perfect. a celebration about autumn harvest, almost got ruined by an actual harvest disaster. We literally had a national emergency over decorative squash. Peak modern society right there. 6. The cake of social doom. At Victorian Halloween parties, eating cake could literally ruin your social life. This wasn't dessert, it was high-stakes fortune-telling. Hidden in the batter were symbolic objects. Find a ring, marriage within the year. Find a coin, wealth is coming. Find a button, you'll remain single but stable. But if you bit down on a thimble, social death sentence. That thimble meant you were destined to be a spinster forever. Imagine the drama. Hopeful young people carefully biting cake, and suddenly someone feels the metallic click of the thimble of doom. The room goes silent. Pitying glances begin. The girl with the thimble sits there blushing while everyone knows she just got publicly labeled as a future cat lady. And the placement was completely random. Your romantic destiny was determined by where a baker randomly stuck stuff while stirring batter. Victorian Halloween was savage. 7. Victorian Tinder disguised as terror. In one of the weirdest cultural pivots, 19th century Halloween transformed from appeasing dead spirits into the Victorian era's massive dating app. For young people trapped in suffocatingly repressed society with strict courtship rules, Halloween became the one night they could socialize semi-freely. The entire holiday was re-engineered around romance and spouse hunting. Halloween parties were structured as elaborate matchmaking events with games and divination ceremonies, all laser-focused on revealing your future spouse's identity. The spooky aesthetic remained, but the real fear shifted from vengeful spirits to the horrifying possibility of ending up a 25-year-old spinster or 30-year-old bachelor. Ads promoted Halloween as the most important night for your future. Young girls prepared with the same strategic intensity as someone optimizing their Tinder profile today. It's absurd. A holiday about avoiding hell became about avoiding dying alone. 8. Cabbage matchmaking madness. If you think dating apps have weird algorithms, you haven't heard about the Scottish method involving being blindfolded, sent stumbling into a dark garden, and pulling up random vegetables to analyze the dirt. On Halloween night, a young Scottish woman would be blindfolded and sent to pull up the first cabbage she touched. What followed was complete forensic analysis, supposedly revealing everything about her future husband. Long, straight stalk, tall, handsome spouse, short, bent, knobbly. Prepare for short, hunched, possibly ugly husband. The amount of dirt indicated his wealth. Rich soil meant rich man. Clean root signaled poverty. Here's the demented part. After visual assessment, she had to taste the dirt from the root. The soil's flavor supposedly revealed his temperament. Sweet meant kind-hearted. Bitter meant sour temper. Imagine explaining you chose your husband because his vegetable representation tasted like reliable earth with stability notes. Scottish ancestors taste-tested soil for marriage advice. 9. Bonefires, skeleton barbecues. The word bonfire has a literal visceral origin. They were originally bonefires, massive fires fueled by actual animal skeletons. During Celtic Samhain, Druid priests built enormous piles, sometimes 50 feet tall, and threw bones of slaughtered cattle into flames as religious ritual. This wasn't about ambiance, it was spiritual purification. The smoke from burning skeletons was believed to have magical protective properties, cleansing air of evil spirits. People intentionally stood in acrid smoke, letting incinerated bone vapors envelop them. They'd drive livestock between two bonfires as cleansing ritual. The air would have reeked of burning keratin, marrow, and carbonized calcium, a distinctively nauseating smell. Compare that to modern bonfires for roasting marshmallows. Next time you're enjoying a cozy bonfire, remember you're participating in a tradition whose name literally means "I'm burning skeletons now." From Druid mass cattle bone incineration to college kids drinking beer around fire while someone badly plays guitar. 10. Costumes as demon camouflage. The original reason for dressing up had nothing to do with fun or candy. It was a desperate survival strategy to trick supernatural entities wanting to possess, devour, or drag you to hell. Ancient Celts believed on Samhain night, the membrane between living and dead worlds became dangerously thin, allowing malicious spirits, demons, and vengeful souls to cross freely. To avoid being identified as vulnerable humans, rich in vital energy these beings craved, people disguised themselves grotesquely. Not bed sheets with eye holes, actual dead animal skins, covering yourself in ashes, smearing mud, wearing horrible carved wooden masks, carrying animal heads, even staining yourself with blood. If you looked and smelled horrible enough, evil spirits would mistake you for one of them. It was supernatural camouflage. Don't eat me, I'm a monster like you. Compare this to a 6-year-old dressed as Spider-Man knocking for Snickers. We've gone from tricking literal dead people to looking like Marvel characters. 11. Satanic hazelnuts. In old British folklore, Halloween was the devil's busiest night, but not because he was tormenting souls. According to belief, Satan spent Halloween collecting hazelnuts. Yes, really. Legend said the devil personally harvested nuts, magically infusing them with dark energy. Because of this satanic association, hazelnuts became primary divination tools, especially for couples testing relationship strength. The ritual was simple but dramatic. 2 people in love placed 2 hazelnuts on a fire grate, each representing one of them. If nuts roasted peacefully side by side, it signaled a stable, lasting relationship. But if nuts started hissing violently, crackling, and literally exploding away from each other, terrible omen predicting bitter fights, infidelity, and inevitable breakup. It was basically medieval couples therapy based on heated legume behavior. Imagine discovering your relationship was doomed because randomly chosen nuts had too much internal moisture and exploded. Sorry, honey, the nuts say this won't work. People made serious life decisions based on random thermal properties of tree seeds. 12. Depression-era flower sack horror. During the Great Depression, when families couldn't afford basic luxuries, kids demonstrated pure necessity creativity by making Halloween masks from empty flour and potato sacks. The result was accidentally terrifying. These weren't cute crafts, they were genuinely unsettling objects. Kids took rough burlap sacks or thick paper grocery bags, cut crude eye holes, and drew spooky faces with charcoal. The result was nightmare aesthetic. Figures with bags on heads with crudely drawn features staring from asymmetrical black eye holes. It was like cult horror film decades before that genre existed. These masks became iconic symbols of the era. A perfect symbol when even a fantasy holiday had to be built from daily life scraps. The irony is potent. Economic desperation accidentally created one of history's most genuinely creepy Halloween aesthetics. Depression-era Halloween photographs are deeply unsettling. Children with bags on heads standing on dirt streets, looking like strange rural cult rather than party kids. Compare that to today's $80 Frozen costumes. Poverty created real horror better than mass manufacturing. 13. Apple peel prophecy. Another absurdly complicated Victorian matchmaking ritual involved apples, tremendous patience, exceptionally steady wrist, and willingness to believe fruit peel formed legible letters. A young woman wanting to discover her true love's identity had to carefully peel an entire apple, ensuring the skin came off in one continuous, unbroken strip. If peel broke, magic was ruined, and she started over with new apple. This could take multiple frustrating attempts. Once achieving perfect unbroken strip, real fun began. She had to swing long apple peel around her head exactly 3 times, building momentum like throwing a lasso. On third swing, she'd dramatically release it and let it fall to floor behind her. Then, the party crowd would huddle around fallen peel and examine it intensely like forensic scientists. The shape supposedly revealed the first letter of her future husband's name. Problem: randomly falling apple peels don't form crisp letters. They form organic squiggles, confusing loops interpretable as almost anything. Imagine the generous interpretation required to see specific alphabetic letters in random fruit trash. But the tradition was popular because it offered hope. Subscribe so next Halloween you can ruin everyone's fun with these facts. You know you want to be that person. 14. Eisenhower's haunted White House. For decades, trick-or-treaters occasionally knocked on the White House door, but the first lady who truly brought full Halloween spirit inside was Mamie Eisenhower in 1958. She didn't just let kids knock. She completely transformed the White House into an elaborate, unapologetically spooky haunted mansion, abandoning typical staid formal decoration. Eisenhower ordered full-size skeletons hung in foyers. Jack-o'-lanterns grinning were placed on every table and windowsill. Witches riding broomsticks were dramatically suspended from crystal chandeliers. Fake cobwebs were draped over portraits of deceased presidents. The party was hosted for White House staff children, creating a whimsical, genuinely spooky atmosphere worlds away from usual solemn political functions. The image of foreign diplomats potentially walking through Halloween-filled hallways while maintaining diplomatic composure is delicious. It set a precedent future First Ladies would follow, turning the White House into an official participant in national Halloween celebration. It's gloriously absurd that the nation's most politically important building dedicates considerable resources to being officially spooky once yearly. 15. Houdini's final escape failure. In a perfectly symbolic twist of fate, Harry Houdini, the world's most legendary escape artist who had escaped from handcuffs, straitjackets, submerged boxes, locked prison cells, and buried coffins, died on Halloween 1926. Official cause was peritonitis from ruptured appendix, but circumstances were dramatic. Days before, a college student punched him in the stomach without warning to test his claim he could withstand any blow. Houdini didn't have time to tense abdominal muscles. The blow caused internal damage, and resulting infection killed him. But here's where it gets truly strange. Houdini had spent later career debunking fraudulent mediums exploiting bereaved people's grief. Before dying, he made a pact with wife Bess. If there was any way to communicate from beyond the grave, he'd find a way to send her a secret-coded message only she knew. For 10 consecutive years after his death, every Halloween, Bess held elaborate seances, desperately hoping to receive the agreed signal. Year after year, she waited. The message never came. The man who could escape from literally anything finally found the one lock he couldn't pick: death itself. 16. Trick or treat, sweet bribery solution. Modern trick or treat didn't organically evolve from ancient traditions. It was literally invented as desperate solution to massive youth vandalism crisis threatening to destroy Halloween completely. During the 1920s and 1930s, Halloween in America became synonymous with absolute chaos and destruction. What started as harmless pranks escalated dramatically to severe vandalism. Teenagers tipping outhouses, dismantling fences, throwing eggs, breaking windows, smearing tar on doors, unscrewing wheel nuts from parked cars, blocking streets, and most infamously, physically lifting entire cars and placing them in impossible locations like porches or intersections. Bribe the kids to behave. Offer them free candy in exchange for not destroying property. Thus, modern trick-or-treat was born, a literal social contract where treat was the bribe and trick was the implied threat. It worked. Vandalism dropped dramatically. It's hilarious that one of our most beloved traditions is literally the result of a candy protection scheme. 17. The poisoned candy panic. In the 1970s and 1980s, America was consumed by massive moral panic about poisoned candy and tampered Halloween treats supposedly harming children nationwide. News stations broadcast terrifying warnings. Hospitals offered free X-ray services to radiograph candy bags. Parents meticulously examined every piece, looking for punctured wrappers, anything suspicious. The fear was so widespread, many communities considered canceling Halloween completely. Here's the twist. The vast majority of reported cases were completely fake. Extensive studies found virtually all Halloween candy poisonings were either completely invented or cases where family members poisoned their own children and tried blaming strangers. The most infamous case was Ronald Clark O'Brien, who poisoned his 8-year-old son with cyanide in 1974 to collect life insurance, then tried making it look like tampered Halloween candy. He was executed. Of literally tens of thousands of supposed cases, only a handful had any credibility. There was no army of psychopaths systematically poisoning children. But the moral panic changed Halloween forever. It's why homemade treats disappeared, why everything must be factory wrapped, why we don't trust neighbors. Fact 18. Big candies take over. Halloween wasn't always about candy. Until mid-20th century, trick-or-treaters received everything. Coins, small toys, nuts, fruit, homemade cakes, cookies, even little sandwiches. But after World War II, major American candy companies like Mars, Hershey's, and Nestle saw golden opportunity for seasonal market domination. They launched massive aggressive marketing campaigns to permanently transform Halloween into candy-centric holiday. Ads hammered the message. Individually wrapped candies were convenient, hygienic, safe, and perfect for trick-or-treaters. Handing out homemade treats was portrayed as risky and old-fashioned. The message was everywhere. Magazines, radio, television, newspapers. The industry created new product sizes specifically for Halloween. Fun-size bars, variety mix bags. They made giving candy effortless. Buy a bag, dump in bowl, done. The strategy worked spectacularly. Within 2 decades, candy completely dominated Halloween. Today, Halloween is the second largest candy sales holiday after Valentine's Day, with over $3 billion spent annually just on candy. Americans buy approximately 600 million pounds of candy each Halloween. It's absurd that an ancient Celtic celebration transformed into a commercial pretext for selling branded sugar products at industrial scale. Fact 19. Blue candle ghost detector. Long before EMF meters and ghost hunting TV shows with thousands of dollars of equipment, people relied on a much simpler method for detecting supernatural presences, watching candle flame color. Ancient widespread Halloween folklore claimed that if you were sitting in a room, especially on Halloween night when the veil between worlds was thinnest, and your candle flame suddenly started sputtering strangely and changed from warm, normal orange to ethereal spectral blue, it was absolutely unmistakable sign that a ghost or spirit was currently in the room with you. This wasn't just ordinary draft. The specific blue color was considered definitive, undeniable proof of visitation from beyond. You can imagine the genuinely terrifying effect this would have. A group gathers in dimly lit room on Halloween night, telling ghost stories with only candles providing light. Atmosphere is already charged. 20. The Puritans who ruined everything. When European colonists arrived in North America, they brought folkloric traditions, harvest festivals, and seasonal rituals. But not everyone was thrilled. The first and most powerful haters of Halloween in the New World were the Puritans of New England, and they really hated this holiday with burning religious passion. The Puritans, with their extremely strict, austere, no-fun brand of Protestantism, viewed Halloween and its associated festivals with deep suspicion and genuine horror. They considered the ritual bonfires, fortune-telling, costumes, masks, alcohol, dancing, and general socializing as dangerously pagan at best and literally satanic at worst. In their rigidly controlled worldview, any celebration not explicitly mentioned in the Bible was suspect. Halloween, with its roots in Celtic Druid festivals, was especially offensive. 21. Anoka versus Salem War. There's a long-standing, fiercely competitive, completely absurd rivalry between two American cities over which one deserves the prestigious and completely self-imposed title of Halloween Capital of the World. In one corner, we have Anoka, Minnesota, a small city of about 17,000 people with legitimate documented claim of being first city to organize an official citywide Halloween parade in 1920. They did it specifically as response to severe youth vandalism problem. Anoka officially owns the trademark for the term Halloween Capital of the World. They have the legal paperwork. But in the other corner is Salem, Massachusetts, and they don't need trademarks because they have something way more powerful. A global reputation built on one of the darkest chapters in American history, the Salem witch trials of 1692. Salem ruthlessly capitalizes on this historical association. 22. The Bogeyman, tax collectors from hell. The Bogeyman, that terrifying shapeless monster parents invoke to scare children into behaving, who lurks in closets and under beds waiting to grab disobedient kids, may have its origins in something much more mundane but equally terrifying than a supernatural monster. Very real authority figures common people genuinely feared. One compelling etymological theory suggests Bogeyman derives from the buggy men of medieval England, who weren't mythical creatures at all, but brutal, ruthless tax collectors who worked for local lords or the crown. These men were known and feared throughout land for their intimidation tactics, physical aggression, property confiscation, and general cruelty in executing duties. For poor peasants already living on survival's edge, the appearance of tax collector at their door was genuinely terrifying occurrence that could result in losing home, possessions, or imprisonment. 23. Midnight Mirror Madness. One of the most widespread and apparently most terrifying Halloween divination rituals involved a young woman, a mirror, a candle, a completely dark room, and exact stroke of midnight on October 31st. The belief was that if you executed this ritual correctly, under precise right conditions, you'd see your future husband's face appear in the mirror behind you. The instructions were specific. You had to be completely alone in dark room. You had to hold one lit candle and only one candle, no other light sources. You had to stand facing a mirror. And you had to wait until exactly midnight on Halloween, the moment when veil between worlds was thinnest. Then you'd stare at your own candlelit reflection and wait. If the ritual worked, you'd supposedly see your future husband's face materialize in mirror behind your own reflection. However, there was creepy caveat. If you looked in mirror and saw a skull instead of face, it meant you'd die before getting married. 24. Bobbing for apples. Wettest marriage competition. The game of bobbing for apples that we know today as silly family party activity where you try grabbing floating apples with your teeth has origins that are much weirder and inexplicably romantic. In British and Irish folklore, bobbing for apples was serious marriage divination game played by young singles, especially on Halloween. How you played and your success determined your romantic fortune for next year. In most common version, apples were floated in large barrel or tub of water, and participants, usually young women, had to try catching an apple using only their mouth, no hands allowed. First person to successfully grab an apple would be first to get married in next year. If you grabbed apple on first try, you were destined for true love. If it took multiple attempts, your path to marriage would be complicated. If you couldn't grab apple at all, you were doomed to another year of singleness. 25. Souling, begging for cakes to save souls. Long before trick-or-treat existed, there was medieval British tradition called souling that was simultaneously darker, more religious, and somehow more transactional than its modern descendant. On All Souls' Day, the November 2nd, and during All Hallowtide season, poor beggars and children would go door to door specifically asking for soul cakes, which were small, flat, round cakes made with spices, raisins, and marked with cross. But this wasn't just begging, it was elaborate spiritual exchange. In return for each soul cake received, beggar or child would promise to say prayer for souls of donors' dead relatives currently suffering in purgatory. More cakes meant more prayers, which supposedly reduced time your loved ones would spend in spiritual torment before reaching heaven. It was basically spiritual currency system where cakes bought divine intervention. The soulers would sometimes sing specific songs. A soul cake, please good Mrs. A soul cake. 1 for Peter, 2 for Paul, 3 for him who made us all. 26. Mischief Night, the purge before Halloween. In many parts of America, particularly Northeast and Midwest, there exists strange, semi-sanctioned, often destructive tradition known as Mischief Night, also called Devil's Night, in Detroit, that occurs on night of October 30th, just before Halloween. It's basically culturally designated night when teenagers and preteens go out and commit acts of minor vandalism, pranks, and chaos with relatively greater social impunity than any other night of year. It's not official event or approved celebration. It's more like tacit understanding that on this specific night, normal rules relax a little. Traditional Mischief Night activities include throwing eggs at houses and cars, toilet papering trees, putting flaming dog poop bags on porches, ringing doorbells and running away, soaping car windows, spraying silly string, littering, and other low-level mischief. In some areas, especially Detroit during the 1980s and 1990s, Devil's Night got seriously dark and dangerous, with hundreds of arson fires set each year, abandoned structures burned, and genuine urban chaos requiring all city firefighters on duty. 27. The Cat Soth, feline soul collector. The cat Sith, pronounced cat she from Scottish and Irish Celtic folklore, is a creature that sounds adorable. It's a cat, but was actually considered deeply sinister and dangerous. Described as large, completely black cat with single white spot on chest, the cat Sith was an ordinary animal but supernatural being, possibly demonic spirit taking feline form, or according to some legends, witch who had transformed into cat. Specific legend said witches could transform into cats up to 8 times, but if they did transformation 9th time, they'd be permanently stuck as cat. This is supposedly true origin of saying cats have 9 lives. During Samhain Halloween, the cat Sith had particularly dark role. It was believed to wander houses on Halloween night, specifically seeking homes where residents hadn't left out saucer of fresh milk as offering. 28. Orange and black, death and harvest colors. The traditional Halloween colors, orange and black, weren't chosen arbitrarily because they looked good together or matched pumpkins. Each color has deep, dark symbolic meaning rooted in original Celtic festival of Samhain. Orange represents autumn harvest, changing leaves, setting sun, fire of bonfires, and transition from life to death. It's the color of things dying, but still retaining vibrant flash of vitality before the end. Black represents death itself, darkness of approaching winter, long night when spirits walk, void of afterlife, and mystery of the unknown. Together, orange and black encapsulate central theme of Halloween, thin intersection between life and death, light and darkness, world of living and realm of dead. During Samhain, these transitions weren't metaphorical, they were literal. The festival marked end of Celtic year, death of harvest season, and beginning of dark half of year when death held domain. The Celts believed on this specific night, barrier between two worlds dissolved, allowing dead to temporarily return. 29. Ancient wooden masks, faces of real terror. Long before perfectly molded plastic masks of Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, or any pop culture character you can buy at Spirit Halloween, first Halloween masks were handmade artisan objects that were genuinely profoundly disturbing. During Celtic Samhain festivals and medieval European All Hallows' Eve celebrations, people created elaborate masks carved from wood, molded from leather, or constructed from stiffened fabric hardened with various treatments. These weren't designed to be cute, fun, or recognizable as characters. They were designed to be absolutely terrifying, to literally scare evil spirits and demons believed to freely roam that night. Carvers would create grotesquely distorted faces with exaggerated features, sunken hollow eyes, gaping, screaming mouths, twisted noses, hollow cheeks suggesting decay and death. Some masks represented skulls, animal skeletons, or demonic creatures from local folklore. The craftsmanship was often intentionally crude and irregular because imperfection added to creepiness factor. 30. The 1930s vandalism crisis. During the 1920s and especially the 1930s, Halloween in America escalated from innocent pranks to what can only be described as organized youth anarchy on massive scale. This was era when trick in trick or treat didn't mean harmless joke. It meant genuine vandalism, property destruction, and chaos sometimes bordering minor domestic terrorism. What started as innocent mischievous behavior, like knocking on doors and running, switching street signs, or soaping windows, transformed into something much darker and more destructive. Organized groups of teenagers would go out on Halloween night with specific intent to cause maximum chaos. Common activities included tipping over outhouses, sometimes with people inside, completely dismantling fences and stacking them in piles. 31. Crossroads, portals to the underworld. In Halloween folklore, crossroads had special supernatural significance and were considered places of immense magical power and danger. The intersection where two roads cross was viewed in multiple cultural traditions as liminal point, an in-between place that didn't completely belong to human world or spiritual realm. During Halloween, when veil between worlds was already dangerously thin, crossroads became particularly active and dangerous. Multiple Halloween divination traditions specifically required you to stand at crossroads at midnight. One popular ritual said, if you stood completely alone at crossroads at exactly midnight on Halloween and listened carefully, you'd hear names of all people in your community who would die in next year whispered by wind. cheerful stuff. Other rituals held that if you performed certain acts at crossroads on Halloween, walking around it 3 times backwards, while holding mirror, for example, you could see ghosts, meet devil, or glimpse future. Crossroads were also considered places where suicides and criminals who couldn't be buried in consecrated ground were interred. Their restless spirits supposedly haunted these locations. In American hoodoo folklore, crossroads were where you could make pacts with supernatural entities. 32. Protective salt. Lines against evil. One of simplest but most widespread protection methods during Halloween in multiple cultural traditions was use of common table salt as barrier against evil spirits, witches, and supernatural forces. Salt had magical properties in folklore because it was preservative, it stopped decay. Symbolizing resistance to death, it was valuable once used as currency, and it had associations with purity and incorruptibility. On Halloween, when spirits could freely cross to human world, families would carefully sprinkle lines of salt across door thresholds, windowsills, and any other opening where evil spirit might enter. The belief was that spirits and demons couldn't cross unbroken line of salt. It acted as impenetrable magical barrier. If malevolent spirit tried to enter, it would be forced to stop at salt line, unable to proceed. Some traditions elaborated. Salt had to be sea salt specifically, or it had to be blessed, or it had to form complete unbroken circle. People also carried small bags of salt in their pockets for personal protection when walking outside on Halloween. 33. Horseshoes. Devil-proof door protection. The tradition of hanging horseshoe above door for good luck has direct connections to Halloween and protection against supernatural forces, especially devil himself. Horseshoes had multiple protective properties in folklore. They were made of iron, which was believed to repel fairies, witches, and evil spirits. They had crescent moon-shaped symbol of lunar protection. They were created by blacksmiths who had almost magical status in ancient societies for their ability to transform metal with fire, and they were used on horses, animals considered noble and pure. On Halloween specifically, when devil and his demons were thought to walk freely, horseshoes hung above doors served as protective barriers. There was specific debate about correct orientation. Some traditions insisted horseshoes should be hung with points up like U to capture and hold good luck. Other traditions said it should be hung with points down, like upside down U, so good luck would flow over anyone passing beneath. So there you have it, 33 of the most absurd, unhinged, and genuinely weird facts about Halloween that history tried to keep hidden under those cute plastic decorations. Happy Halloween. Stay weird. If you enjoyed learning about the unhinged true history of Halloween, hit that like button and subscribe for more historical facts that are way stranger than you expected.